Hi, amazing people. This is Christianity over Islam with Sam Shamoun, and on today's episode of this debate, a Muslim caller admits Muhammad owned and traded black slaves. Let's watch this amazing video to get more details.
The standard claim, whenever we find, whenever Muslims comment on Muhammad being against racism, they basically give two examples over and over again. One is Muhammad's final sermon, where he said there's no difference between Arab and non-Arab and so on. And then also the other example is Bilal. So there's a black companion named Bilal, and the problem with the Bilal story is that Abu Bakr was purchasing him not because he thought that slavery was wrong or that black slavery was wrong, but because it was a Muslim under the control of a non-Muslim. So he purchased Bilal, and what did he buy him with? Do you know what he bought him with? He bought him with multiple black slaves. So he purchased him for that.
I want to read more on that.
Actually, it was I don't mean to be like annoying and stubborn, but like he bought him with 10 gold coins.
He did what? I can't hear you.
He's saying he purchased him with 10 gold coins, and you do find some inconsistencies. You have one source says he bought him with a black slave, another with multiple black slaves, I believe a husband and a wife, and he's quoting another source here. But
sure, that's fine.
Yeah.
Let me go to the ones that are not disputed, because he's still a black slave. Now, I'm going to read some hadiths for you, Muhammad. This is Sahih Bukhari. It's volume 2, number 103. Narrate Urwa on the authority of Aisha. I got a couple of them. We're going to go slow, one at a time. On the day of Minna, and then it says 11th, 12th, 13th of Dhul Hijjah, Abu Bakr came to her while two young girls were beating the tambourine, and the Prophet was lying covered with his clothes. Abu Bakr scolded them, and the Prophet uncovered his face and said to Abu Bakr, "Leave them, for these days are the days of Eid and the days of Minna." Aisha further said, now here's the part, once the Prophet was screening me, and I was watching the display of black slaves in the mosques, and Umar scolded them. The Prophet said, "Leave them, O Bani Arfida, carry on, you are safe." So in the mosque, they were displaying black slaves, and it even gives the color, and there's more hadiths. Now, can you answer me, what in the world is Muhammad doing allowing black slaves to be paraded? How come they were not emancipated, freed? And why do the hadiths emphasize their color? And there's more than one hadith that said the black slave, and I got a couple more, but I want you to explain this one. Why is your Prophet justifying black slavery?
He didn't say it's okay though. He saying that he's watching this video, he's saying it's okay.
They're displaying them in the mosque, and he doesn't say, "Shame on you, what are you doing, black slaves, set them free." In fact, he rebukes Umar for complaining that they're being displayed. Hey, Umar, shut up, leave them alone. And you're saying he didn't condone it? You want me to give you verses where he owned black slaves and they served them?
Who? But Muhammad owned black slaves or Umar?
Yes, Muhammad did. You want me to give it to you?
Yes, please.
Let me give you what he did with buying and selling. I'm going to give you a couple. Sahih Muslim, number 3901. Narrated Jabir ibn Abdullah, there came a slave and pledged allegiance to Allah's apostle on migration. He, the Prophet, did not know that he was a slave. Then there came his master and demanded him back, whereupon Allah's apostle said, "Sell him to me." And he bought him for 2 black slaves. Your Prophet gave 2 black slaves in exchange of that slave. So where did he get 2 black slaves from? And why is he purchasing a slave for 2 black slaves? He's giving him 2 black slaves for that one slave, and he did not afterwards take allegiance from anyone until he had asked him whether he was a slave or a free man. So now I want to ask you the question. Where did your Prophet have 2 black slaves to give in exchange for that slave?
This is like, you have to understand, like, this is like in the Arabian culture at this time, people exchanged black slaves. So in order for Muhammad to get something, he obviously had to get black slaves.
So you admit he had black slaves then?
Yeah.
Okay, good. But now here's the problem though, Muhammad. Didn't you just say earlier he did away with a culture practice like infanticide with young girls? So here again you're saying it was culture at that time to own black slaves, and so Muhammad is simply following this custom, even though he could have abolished it, said, hey, no more slaves, especially no more black slaves. He didn't do that. He continued the practice. But my question for you is, why does the hadith mention their skin color? What's the deal with their skin color? Why black? Why not just say slave? Why black slave?
Okay, listen, let's say for argument's sake, what if Muhammad didn't have these black slaves? Then how would he get things? He needs to exchange things, like, because if he wants something, if he wants something, then he has to exchange. But then if he has no black slaves, what can he use to exchange? If that, do you get what I mean?
Muhammad, so you mean in chapter 4, verse 65 of the Quran, where it says, true Muslims have to perfectly submit to Muhammad's decisions. He couldn't have simply said, I am the messenger of Allah, you believe in me, you must perfectly submit to me. Give me this man, set him free, because we don't own slaves. He couldn't have done that?
What if he wasn't a Muslim?
Say it again?
If the guy was not a Muslim?
Okay, he could have told the guy, he would say, look, we don't own slaves. We've abolished slavery. So I'll buy this man and set him free. Why couldn't he do that?
He doesn't own slaves. He, not we.
Muhammad, no, I'm answering your question, so you're not listening. You're saying, what if the man isn't a Muslim? So then Muhammad could say to that man, look, here, we don't own slaves, so I'll buy this man from you and set him free. Couldn't he have set him free?
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Okay guys, before we continue with our video, this is Shamoun disagreeing with the Muslim claiming that Muhammad is against the trading of black slaves and racism. But we find out from the Quran that Muhammad was never against the trading of black slaves and racism. Why? One of the verses from the Quran says that, from the Hadith, saying that Muhammad said the black will go to hell, while the white will go to heaven. And if the black person is good, his color will be changed to white, then he will be allowed to go to heaven. If a white man is bad, he will be turned to black, then he will go to hell. You can see that is a racist remark. And also we can see that Muhammad traded with a lot of black slaves. They were even displayed there in the mosques, but he did not condemn it. He condoned with it, and then he gave 2 slaves in exchange for 1 and all that. Let's get back to this video to find out more truth.
No.
Okay, and you still want us to believe he's a moral example?
He's a moral example.
Okay. You want me to give you another hadith where Omar walks?
Sam, let me. I just wanted to bring up. Let's see if I can get this on the screen real quick. I just wanted to bring up one of the passages, because again, you have a passage saying in Ibn Ishaq saying that Bilal was bought for another black slave, and then I forget. Don't quote me on this, but I believe it's Ibn Sa'd that says 2 black slaves. But let me see if I can get Ibn Ishaq up on the screen here. Here, up in the upper left corner, ladies and gentlemen, we see this passage. Hisham bin Urwa told me on the authority of his father, Waraka bin Nawfal was passing him while he was being thus tortured and saying, 1, 1, and he said, 1, 1, by God, Bilal. Then he went to Umayyah and those of Banu Jumah who had thus maltreated him and said, I swear by God that if you kill him in this way, I will make his tomb a shrine. One day Abu Bakr passed by. Now we're getting to this part. One day Abu Bakr passed by while they were thus ill-treating him, for his house was among this clan. He said to Umayyah, have you no fear of God that you treat this poor fellow like this? So, talking about him beating his Muslim slave Bilal. Have you no fear of God that you treat this poor fellow like this? How long is it to go on? He replied, you are the one who corrupted him, so save him from his plight that you see. I will do so, said Abu Bakr. I have got a black slave, tougher and stronger than he, who is a heathen. I will exchange him for Bilal. The transaction was carried out, and Abu Bakr took him and freed him. So notice, this was not about slavery being a problem. It was not about black slavery being a problem. This was the sole issue here was that a pagan, a polytheist, had control over a Muslim. And in order to buy the Muslim so that a Muslim was not under the control of a pagan, of a polytheist, Abu Bakr sold this man for Bilal, traded him another black slave, or depending on the source, multiple black slaves. So notice, there's a man who is notorious for beating his black slaves, and Abu Bakr says, but don't beat that slave because he's a Muslim. You cannot do that. Here, I'll give you this other black slave, and he's a heathen, so I don't care what you do to him. And so hands him over. So, yeah, my only point here is this has a lot more to do with being a Muslim under the control of a non-Muslim than Islam having a problem with black slavery. So that was all the point. And yeah, you can go ahead and...
Let me read just one more hadith for him. Just one more, and let him comment. This is now, if you have Sahih Bukhari, open up volume 8. Sahih Bukhari, volume 8, and number 182. Sahih Bukhari, volume 8, number 182. When you're there, let me know. It's volume 8, number 182. Narrated Anas bin Malik. Allah's apostle was on a journey, and he had a black slave, again it says black, called Anjasha. And he was driving the camels very fast, and there were women riding on the camels. Allah's apostle said, Wayhaqqa, may Allah be merciful to you, O Anjasha. Drive slowly with the glass vessel. So here is a black slave that your prophet owned, that he had him drive the camels. So do you acknowledge your prophet was a white man who owned black slaves?
He owned black slaves, yes he did.
Okay, so all right, so then you're okay with a white prophet because Hadith says he's white, right? Do I need to show you that, or you know that?
No, yeah, I
You know he's
understand
white,
that.
right? Okay, but
Yeah,
I just want, okay, good. So you have a white man who owns black slaves, and the Hadiths make it a point to emphasize they were black slaves. So he was a white black slave owner, a white slave owner of blacks.
yeah. But,
And you're
like I
okay
said
with
before, this is like culture, if you know what I mean. He had to, in order to buy something and get something, he needed to have the actual currency, and the currency is black people.
okay.
Alright guys, so welcome back. I believe that was a very fascinating one from Shamoun and also educating one at that. And at the end of the video, he admitted that yes, it is true that the Prophet owned black slaves and he also traded some of them. Like example where he exchanged 2 black slaves for 1, and the instances where it happens like that, he always traded them for a Muslim slave. You can see that all this argument they have been arguing for a while, it shows that many of them don't even know what is written in their Quran and their Hadith. They are always confused, and I'm so glad that Shamoun is here to expose them, to expose their lies and all the whole evil practices in Islam. The moral issues of Muhammad, there are a lot of topics that it can be discussed, for his questionable moral attitude can be brought to light. It is a very shameful thing, and it's something that if we decide to talk about it, I believe we'll spend the whole day talking about his moral issues. Guys, I believe we're able to learn something. Let's know what you've learned in the comment section, and also don't forget to like, to share and comment, and do well to subscribe to this channel for more amazing videos like this. Thank you, and see you in our next video.